Good morning. Happy Saturday. I'm coming on this morning to share a couple of projects that I worked on this week that I'm going to be uploading for Saturday Morning Makes, hosted by Jill Norwood. And actually, the two projects that I have are from two completely different styles. One of them is a primitive project, and the other one is a turn of the century vintage project. So I'm going to jump right in and show you the tag that I created first. Um, this is just a plain manila tag that I've had in my stash for a long time, and I had several of them. So I tea stained them first with some spray, and then I let them dry, and then I did the same thing with a couple of paper doilies. Just sprayed them with a little bit of tea stain. And then once they were dry, I collaged those onto, I collaged them together with some stamping and some little Tim Holtz. I put some of this collage paper on. It's very thin tissue. So I tore a little piece of this one. This one is called Floral. You see at the bottom there. I tore a little piece of that. It comes on a roll. And I glue sticked it down on the right hand side of the card, and then I added some little bits of ephemera that I had, did some stamping here, you can see the flower there, and then I layered up some little pieces of Tim Holtz ephemera. Now this is called Ephemera Pack Keepsakes. I don't know, I've had this in my stash for a little while. Anyway, I went through and just found a few that I thought matched nicely with the colors and collaged those on. And then I finished it with a tiny little bit of torn tea-dyed muslin and some trim that I had picked up at Michael's, and a little bit of crochet cotton and one of my antique buttons. And, just a little bit of lace down at the bottom there. So, I thought it turned out pretty well. I'd like to make some more of these and get them, put aside into my stash. Up here at the top, I added a little bit of green seam binding to pick up the green in the collage paper, and a little bit of lace and crochet cotton to kind of give it a little bit of extra texture. So that was the first project. And I was inspired last weekend for Mother's Day. My daughter and her fiance and my husband and I took a ride down to the shore, and we had lunch, walked by the water. It was just a beautiful sunny day, and did a little bit of shopping in a little primitive shop on the main street there. And I found this adorable antique petticoat, it looks like. It has beautiful pin tucking at the bottom, some old lace. It appears to be a very fine cotton or linen. And it's got some pretty little buttons on it as well, with some hand-bound buttonholes. It's just a lovely little piece. So I picked this up, and the woman that owns the shop had it displayed on a tiny little twig with some herbs, some dried herbs. I just thought it was so pretty. And, for the price, I think I paid $15 for this. So this is hanging in my studio now, providing some fun inspiration. But actually, when I saw it, and I just had so much fun looking around in the shop as well, I found a lamp there, and my husband bought a wood plane, an antique wood plane. So it inspired me to do a primitive project. And what I did was I made this cat, and I drafted myself a pattern first for it. You can see this is just some notebook paper that I taped together. And then I stitched it onto some plain muslin. And then I stuffed it with fiberfill, and I put a little bit of those plastic pellets in the bottom to give it some weight. Here's my bag full of those. So it stands up quite nicely and easily. And then I took a piece of gingham and tore a strip of that and stitched some lace on it. And then I tied a few rusted jingle bells that I had made and some of the old pearl buttons onto the bow as well. And I just think this has such a cute little primitive looking face. I stitched embroidery floss to make the eyes and nose and mouth. And then I used a staining technique I looked up online, and the recipe asks you to take a cup of hot water and you put in a good maybe quarter of a cup or so of instant coffee crystals, mix it all together, and then you add in a teaspoon of nutmeg, a teaspoon of ginger, and a teaspoon of cinnamon, and mix it well, and just a tiny bit of vanilla. And I wondered, well, why would you do that? But after I created this, I discovered that the reasoning behind that is to make your project not smell so much like coffee crystals, and it doesn't. Now it just has more of a spicy scent to it and a very small hint of vanilla. So I actually really like the way the recipe worked out. It also asked you to you would take, mix your stain together, your distressing stain, and paint it onto your project front and back, which I did. And then take a little bit more of the dry spices and sprinkle them on and just rub them in with your hands. So at that point, the project is, damp. And then you put it onto a parchment-lined baking sheet and bake it at 150 degrees just until it's dry. And it worked fine. I thought maybe the fiberfilm might melt, but I stood right there and kept an eye on it. I think I had it in the oven for about 20 minutes or so. And it came out perfectly fine. So I'm very pleased with the results of that. I'm going to put this into my keeping room, and because we have an old colonial home, and so the style of this works really well with the decor that I have down in my keeping room. So she'll probably sit on one of the Windsor chairs down there that I have, and I think she'll add a little bit of whimsy to my keeping room. So that was my other project. And I happened to have been up in my attic this week looking for some materials, and I came across some old patterns that I tucked into a box after my third child was born. And at that point I thought, I'm going to put all this stuff away for now. We needed to take our spare room at that point and turn it into a nursery for my youngest, my daughter. So I put away a lot of my craft supplies up in the attic, and lo and behold, now that she's grown and gone, I was up in the attic sifting through some things, and I found so many craft supplies up there. So I pulled a few things out just to inspire me, and I found this adorable little book. It's called Sweet Seasons. I'm sure I picked it up when she was a baby, or probably before we even had number 3 back when my 2 boys were small. And I found this, and I thought, I did make the little angel on the front, and so I pulled the book out, and I'm going to go through this and try a few more of the projects in here just for fun. But this was also part of what inspired me to make the little kitty cat. And I found a few other doll patterns I thought I might play around with, as time allows. But isn't this one sweet? Little Primitive Annie and Andy, it's called. I might play around that a little bit more too. So that was kind of fun, a little trip down memory lane. And then, of course, I did make my little kitty cat as some inspiration from that attic hunting adventure. But there is one more thing that I wanted to share before I signed off. And I don't know if this is something that's applicable for the kinds of crafts that other people do, but I do a lot of different kinds of crafts. I'm a hand spinner as well as a seamstress and paper crafter and mixed media and all that sort of thing. And when I purchase fabrics, I've always made a habit of washing them generally before I use them in any projects. And after I wash them, I clip off, those little threads that kind of come off, they ravel out as you're washing your new fabrics. I would clip those little bits off and save them. And you can see in this bag, there's just a myriad of different ones. I have other bags as well, but this is just a collection of things that I've washed over the years. There are also some yarn bits in here that I've clipped off from weaving projects, little snippets of, pearl cottons and other things that I've also used, and lots of threads from washing fabrics. And these are not only great for adding into my novelty yarns when I do hand spinning, but they make great little snippets, and you can pull little bits of these off and use them. in your paper crafting as well. Like this could be placed behind a little rosette. If you're looking for sort of a shabby chic look, this is really pretty. And you can layer these bits of, thread scraps and things in with your paper crafting projects. So just another little tip. If it's something that you think you might want to try, give it a whirl and see what you think. I'm going to tuck this away and save it for an upcoming project. And that, I think, is about it for today. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I have some more attic straightening to work on, and I've got a few projects in the sewing room that I want to start today, and a couple of ideas for some paper crafting art journals that I'd like to get started on, particularly with a mid-century flair. So I'm going to be visiting the Missouri Quilt Company online today and seeing if I can find some layer cakes and charm packs and jelly rolls that might just have a vintage mid-century look to them. Hopefully I'll have good luck with that, and if I do, I will share what I find in an upcoming haul. I also want to thank my friend Christy for tipping me off to check out the Missouri Quilt Company online. So, if that's something that interests you, you can go over and check them out. They have a huge inventory of lots of different kinds of sewing and quilting and craft fabrics. Okay, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again sometime soon. Bye for now.